Hi there, this is Tony from pianotone.ca, and this is my review on the Yamaha P-45 entry-level digital piano. Should be noted that if you see the P-71 on Amazon, it is exactly the same piano. It's just an Amazon exclusive version of the P-45. Sometimes it's a little bit cheaper, so make sure you check the prices for both if you're interested. So let's get after the review. So the P-45 has 88 keys, and they are graded hammer action, so they're heavier in the left and lighter in the right, like on an acoustic piano. And it's the GHS action from Yamaha. It's a dual sensor. It's been around for a while, and a lot of people really like it, and I really like it. It's very solid feeling. My Alesis Recital Pro, which is my digital piano, which is cheaper, has a little bit of play when you press the keys down. The keys kind of wobble a tiny bit back and forth, whereas this just feels so solid, and it's actually quite a bit easier to play. So great quality keybed. There are 10 voices, and there are 64 notes of polyphony and 5 reverb settings. It's actually 4 reverb settings, and 1 is just off. There's also 4 levels of touch sensitivity. So like on an acoustic piano, if you play it lightly, then it's going to be quieter, and if you play it harder, it's going to be louder. So you can add some expression to your playing that way. It should be noted too, the GHS action is the same action that you find in the P-125, which is the P-45's big brother and a couple $100 more expensive. So keybed's fantastic. Now, how you access things on this piano, you might notice that there's not a whole lot of buttons up here. That's very similar to a lot of other entry-level digital pianos out there, where to access things you can want your little guide close by, and you hold down the function button and you press a key. Now, given that my Alesis isn't like that, it actually has like a menu and things, and it is probably a little easier to control. I thought this was going to be a huge pain. It's actually not. You get used to it really quick, and a whole bunch of the things are already labeled anyway. All the voices are labeled down here, and the metronome's labeled up here as well. If I was to buy this piano, I would find some way of labeling the rest of the keys, to be honest, so I didn't have to worry about this. But I did find after just playing this for a couple of days while I was renting it that I was starting to memorize where functionality was anyway, so it wasn't as big a deal as I thought it was going to be. So the voices, there's 10 voices, and like I was mentioning, you do access them by pressing the function key and then choosing the voice down here. So let's do a quick example of the 10 voices. Okay, so for effects, there are 4 different reverb levels. It says 5, but once again, the 5th is just off, no reverb. So I'm going to do another quick little demonstration where I start with no reverb, and then I cycle through all the different reverbs. And the other cool thing that you can do on the P-45 is you can adjust the reverb depth. So once I do the example of each one of the reverbs, then I'm going to crank the reverb depth to its maximum so that you can hear what that sounds like. And then I'm going to, because this also has layering, I'll quickly layer the strings over top of the piano so you can hear what that sounds like. Let's check that out. Okay, so for connectivity, the jacks are all in the back, and should actually mention they're kind of below a little bit of a lip, so they're not the easiest to get at, especially for me where I've got my piano up against a wall like this. There's a USB MIDI out jack, so you can connect your piano to a tablet or a computer or whatever to record MIDI data, so things like GarageBand or any other MIDI program. There's a 1/4-inch headphone jack, and there is a 1/4-inch standard sustain pedal jack. Should mention that the sustain pedal that comes with the Yamaha's one of those really cheap little plastic ones, so you should get something like this. It's a little more like what you see on an acoustic piano. Also should mention that the P-45 is compatible with half pedaling, which is kind of an advanced technique for having a little bit more control over the sustain. Kind of like on an acoustic piano, how the dampers are touching the strings and stuff. So that there is only one pedal that does do that though, and that's the Yamaha FC3A pedal that you can get if you want to be able to do half pedaling. So if you're going to upgrade and you want to be able to do that, make sure you get that one. Now there are no line out jacks on the P-45, so to connect to external amplification or to a audio interface like I'm doing for this, recording this video, you need to have a splitter cable. So you're going to plug a stereo 1/4-inch cable into the headphone jack, and then that cable needs to split into 2 mono signals that then plug into your external amps or your PA system, or in this case my audio interface. And that does mute the speakers on the piano itself. So when you have the headphone jack plugged in that way to connect to external audio, then you're not going to hear anything out of the speakers. Okay, so other features, metronome, which you're going to find on most digital pianos. Now you can hear the chime is coming in on the 4th beat, so that's set to 4/4 time. I can adjust that. So now it's in 3/4 time instead. And you can set the speed. You probably can't see it, but each one of these keys is labeled with a number. So if I want to set it to, say, 72, then that'll slow it down to 72. Or if I want to speed it up to 140 or something. And I can also turn it off. And some of the rest of the features, you can transpose, which is a great feature for us beginning pianists, to be able to easily transpose keys. You can also actually fine-tune the piano, so if you showed up to your band practice and your guitar player and bass player are tuned slightly off from a standard tuning, then you can actually fine-tune your piano to match. Although if it was me, I'd ask them to tune back to me again, but that's just me. There's also a pitch control, which is very, very cool. You can actually have your pitch go up or down by an octave, and what I found in playing around with that is that it's super cool in the layering. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration of how you can do that. Okay, so I'm going to layer the piano and the strings. So if you listen to the strings here, now I'm going to adjust the pitch of the strings. So that's pretty cool. And I could have adjusted that down or up 1 octave. And you can also do that with the main voice. So you can play around with that a lot and get some really kind of cool effects. Then the other thing you can do is you can adjust the volume of either the main voice or the second voice. So there I made the strings quite a bit louder, and I could have made the piano louder, etc. So a lot of cool options there. And one of the other standard features you can find on the P-45 is the duo mode, where you split the keyboard in half. So if you're working with a piano teacher, you can each have the exact same octave on the left and the right, so you can both be playing the same thing at the same time. So some things that I wish the P-45 did have is a line-in. I'm a new pianist, and I'm often practicing with apps, listening to YouTube songs, etc. So it would be cool if there was a line-in jack where I could listen to YouTube or something while I'm playing. I accomplished that with kind of a mixer down here anyway, so it's not the end of the world, but it would be a nice feature. Line-out jacks would also be a nice addition. Again, you can accomplish that with a splitter cable from the headphone jack. There are people out there that are going to tell you that you can't do that, shouldn't do that, it's not as good quality, and to be honest, this sounds okay to me, but I'm not a sound engineer, so you can research that on your own if you want. I also wish that it had a split mode because I like to be able to play the bass in the left and then play some piano on the or organ on the right, but not the end of the world there either. The other nice thing would be if it was compatible with some of the apps Yamaha has on some of their newer pianos, Smart Pianist or Digital Piano Controller. This one's been around for a while, so it's not app compatible. So the verdict on the Yamaha P-45, would I recommend it? Absolutely, with a couple of depends. It kind of depends on your situation and what your needs are. This is from a great manufacturer, very high quality. It's a well-respected, well-known keybed. This action's been around for a while, and it's on some of their more expensive pianos as well. I found it fantastic to play. Easier to play than my own piano was, with a lower quality action. The sounds from Yamaha, as usual, are really good quality, and not just the piano sound. Yamaha doesn't skimp on the other sounds either. So super good quality entry-level digital piano for someone that's new. Where the first depends comes in is if you're going to have an acoustic piano in your life, whether it's you own one or you want to play the one at your church or your school on the weekends or something, or your piano instructor is teaching you lessons on an acoustic piano, and you want to be as used to that action as possible and that feel as possible, then it's probably a good idea to make sure you get something like this that has the feel of an acoustic piano, as opposed to my Alesis, which doesn't have the grating. It's just the same weight all the way along. Then on the other hand, if you are like me, you're not taking traditional piano lessons, you're not exposed to an acoustic piano at all, really. And I'm also not learning classical music. I'm learning a chord-based approach, playing pop music, that type of thing. So the action isn't quite as important to me. My Alesis does have line outs, which allows me to connect to external amplification if I ever wanted it a little bit easier than with the splitter. So that can be a feature in the Alesis's favor. So it does depend on your situation. One other depends that I should mention is Roland has a new piano out in about the same price range, a little bit more expensive, maybe 10% more expensive, the Roland FP10, which has actually an even higher quality of action than in the cheaper Yamahas. It's the same action that you'll find in the $2,000 Roland digital piano, and it is amazing field to play, and they have good quality sounds as well. And because it's newer, it has an app associated with it. Roland calls it Piano Partner 2. Now, I haven't actually reviewed that yet, that piano, but I have played it a bunch in stores, and I go back and forth between the Yamahas and the Rolands, and it's really kind of a toss-up. It does come down to personal preference. The Yamaha sounds tend to be a little bit brighter. The Rolands are a little bit more focused on the lower end. And the keybed on the Roland is a little bit heavier feeling than the keybed on the Yamaha. So again, it's personal preference. So just highly recommending that you also check out the FP10 as well. But beyond all of that, this is a great entry-level digital piano. And if you want to check out prices for it, and the P-71, which remember is exactly the same thing, feel free to click my affiliate links below. And happy piano shopping, and have an awesome day. Thanks.